Hi Wallabies, welcome to Community Living with your girl Malebo. If you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe, and if you're stopping back by and just continuously supporting the channel, you know the jingle by now, so sing it with me. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So thank you guys for the continuous support. We're currently sitting on 669 subscribers, and it's definitely a road to 700. I've mentioned before, we're trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, 4,000 hours watch time, so that the channel can monetize. And I'll also be taking you through that whole journey. How do you monetize on YouTube? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about managing your finances, it's also creating wealth or creating additional income. So this might potentially be my additional income stream, so please do support. If you haven't subscribe. It's free, you don't get charged for subscribing, and even if like you don't watch the channel or you never watch the channel again, it's gonna be like, okay, you subscribe, what's up, right? But it does help the channel to grow, and it does help the channel to probably monetize in the future. This is a bonus episode in terms of the buying your first car series. So I'll be taking guys through the questions that I've received in the comment sections, as I've been imploring you guys to just send through any question that you have regarding buying your first car and what my experience was throughout, right? And as you know by now, this is not financial advice, but it's financial opinion and a personalized financial opinion. With that, I am going to get to the very first question. I'm going to be using my phone obviously because I don't know the questions off by heart. The very first question is from Lerato Mashilande, and I'm just going to be reading through the question, but I'm also going to link it up here. So the question says that most of the time they recommend that one has a deposit before purchasing a car. In your follow-up videos, can you cover why you went against this, right? So as Lerato has already mentioned, it is a recommendation. It's not mandatory that one puts down a down payment or a deposit, right? So back in the days, you had to put down sort of like a down payment or deposit when you were buying a car. I think my aunt commented in one of the comment sections to say, okay, she had to put down a down payment. That was 10 years back. So that was like a mandatory, like sort of like a requirement back then. But right now, you're not required to put down a down payment for any type of loan. Even if it's a home loan, you're not even required to put down a down payment. The only time you might have to put down a down payment is if you can't afford the loan and there's a residual value as a result of not being able to afford the loan. For example, let's just say you want to take 150,000 rand and the bank is like, no, we can only borrow you 100,000. 50,000 will be like a balloon payment or residual value that you have to pay at the end of this loan term, right? Then you can decide that, okay, instead of having that residual value, let me put down a down payment. So meaning that you're taking away that 50,000 and you're only going to focus on the 100,000 that the loan is going to be covered for by the bank, right? So that is the reason why I didn't have to put down a down payment, because I could afford the loan that I was going for. So there was no real reason behind why I had to. If I wanted to, I could have done that, right? But it was not like a mandatory requirement or something I had to do like back in the days where you had to put down a down payment. So that's just something that you guys should know about, maybe putting down a down payment, that it's not mandatory if you can afford the loan. It's only when you can't afford the loan that maybe it might be needed. So that is the very first question, and it's out of the way. So we're gonna head to the second question, and the second question is from Oratile Kutswane, right? And it goes like, wow, so you got 6%. Had you already built your credit record, and for how long, right? So if you haven't watched the videos, I do have a video where I covered the fact that I got 6% for my vehicle financing, right? My vehicle financing is with Absa, but not just Absa vehicle financing, but under the Young Professional Banking suite, right? And the second part is that, had you already built your credit record, and for how long? Yes, I did try to build my credit record, and I have a very good credit record, right, and credit score. It went down a bit because I did quite a number of credit inquiries during that period. As I've already mentioned to you guys, that do not be afraid of taking a knock on your credit score when you're looking for the best sort of credit to go with, or credit house to go with. So as you can see, this is my credit score. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to try. Really. Okay, decided. So this is my credit score. It's 661. It used to be 669 before I took out the credit, before I took out the loan, or before I actually went and had so many credit inquiries against my name. But I think within a couple of months, 3 or 6 months, it would be better. So yes, I had built my credit record since I started working. So the very first thing that I did was to take out an account, a clothing account with TFG, that is like your Foschini group and whatever, right? And then the second thing that I did was to take out a credit card with the Young Professional banking account that I was already using. So those were the two things that I did. So another thing was Vodacom. So I took out a contract with Vodacom as well. They are all paid up, right? I don't have any debt on them. So the only debt that I have is for the vehicle financing. So that is basically the credit history and credit score and credit record that I had prior to getting this vehicle financing credit or loan, right? So as I've already mentioned before, I don't think it played a huge factor in me getting the 6%, because the 6% was as a result of a specific financial product and not necessarily that I had a good credit record, right? Because with the credit, just on the credit record basis, I was standing a chance of getting 8.84%. So yeah, the 6% was not because of my credit record. I don't know if they would have minded if I didn't have a credit record or whatsoever. That would have been maybe a different question, where like, okay, no, you don't have a credit record or something. But most of these Young Professional accounts, they sort of guarantee you these packages before you even have like certain things like a credit record. So you could even get to one and you're permanently employed and you can just get a house without having a credit record. That's my assumption. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll say that that's what I think happens with these guaranteed Young Professional account benefits that are being advertised to us, right? These questions are packed from the Black Poor South African, right? I know it's not my name and it's not my position to say, but hey, this naming, bruv, I feel like maybe you should change it, because you know this whole manifestation and you know words of power are powerful and all those things. The Black Poor South African, do we want to use that one? But yeah, to each his own. Some of the questions have already been answered in some of the episodes, or even with the other questions that I've already answered, right? So the first question is, can you get a car loan when you're in a graduate program or a contract employment? Yes, you can. And you have to do the analysis as to whether or not you should get a car loan with your contract, right? So obviously if you are employed on a contract basis, it will end at some point. So you have to do that analysis, like, okay, am I going to be able to afford this car? Or am I going to be able to generate enough of an income even after, without depending on getting another employment which is not guaranteed, right? So that is one thing you have to do. You have to go through that analysis to say, yes, should I get a car even when I'm on a contract? Another thing that I would mention is that they don't even ask if you're on a contract or not. They just want the last 3 months bank statement and that's it. So there was only one lady that actually inquired as to whether or not I'm employed on a temporary or permanent basis, and she was like very much concerned, but everyone else did not care. But you still have to go through that analysis of like saying, can I afford this car come hell or whatever, right? So that's what I would say on that matter. And then the second thing is that you mentioned that you got prime -1. How? So I've already answered that question. I'm just going to link the video on how I was able to get the 6% from Absa vehicle financing. And then the third one, I think he's asking me if I recommend a pre-owned or new car. I would say I recommend a new car. I got a pre-owned car, but actually, let's just say there are disadvantages and advantages to every single thing, right? So a pre-owned car comes with the fact that we know that a car is a depreciating asset, right? And sometimes buying a new car which is going to depreciate as much as the one that has already depreciated does not make sense, right? And also another thing is the insurance. A new car is a bit more expensive. But another thing, I'm going to try and mention as many advantages and disadvantages as I can possibly can with the whole pre-owned new car. Another thing is that with a pre-owned car, you'd have to look into service history, service plan, maintenance plan, warranty, right? Those are the things that you probably don't have to look into when you're buying a new car. The other thing with a pre-owned car is that you might even have to look into things like, has this car been in an accident? Because I've already mentioned that dealerships can be shady. I'm going to share someone's story, Khabo Mabotja, I think, story later on, where he was just giving us a breakdown of what happened to him with the car that he purchased, and now what is happening with the whole story regarding a car that was in an accident. Then that fact was not disclosed to him as a customer, right? So they don't feel ethically bound to disclose that because they just want to sell cars. I've already mentioned that they are very shady dealings, even with the accredited and reputable dealerships, right? So the fourth question that the Black Poor South African asked was, is your maintenance plan included in the monthly installment? No, my maintenance plan is going to be an out-of-pocket, but if I wanted to include it, it could have been included, right? Because the bank pays whatever I'm quoted for by the dealership. So if I wanted to do that, it would have been 8k for 3 services, or 3 services or 3 years, right? So whichever comes first in terms of the what is it called, service plan or maintenance plan. Maintenance plan and service plan are slightly different, but yeah, they do more or less the same things, but maintenance plan is more robust than a service plan. So if I may, not to be rude, why did you choose a VW and how much did it cost in terms of insurance? Okay, so I chose the VW because of the cost, like it's cost efficient on everything, right? So it's a very robust vehicle, and I feel like in terms of what the purpose, remember my initial purpose of buying the vehicle is to put it on bolt, right? And for a hatchback, because I didn't want a sedan, I really don't see myself driving a sedan, guys. Yeah, so I didn't want a sedan. So in terms of hatchbacks, a car that will probably have like a huge amount of mileage in terms of like at the end, because it'll be driven on bolt and stuff, I felt like VW would be the best vehicle to go with, right? And also with the fuel efficiency, it's a very fuel efficient car, and it'll help me and the driver who's going to be driving the vehicle on bolt to have a fuel efficient vehicle. So that's why I chose VW. I know about it being a high risk, I know about all those things, and it wasn't that expensive. I've also had a video covering how I'm paying less than 900 rands for my insurance, so I'll link it up there as well. So yeah, is your insurance comprehensive? Yes, my insurance is comprehensive, and that video will also address the same question. And what tips can you give a young grad in terms of money management before buying a car? So the tips I'd give any young graduate is that have plus minus 3 months worth of installments ready in your bank before you go and buy a car. So that's like an emergency fund, because obviously I'm assuming that as a young grad you're probably not in a permanent position, so give yourself that allowance, that room for failure, because you will make plans to get like another form of employment if you get maybe retrenched or your contract ends or whatever, right? Or even in my case, where my backup plan is actually Bolt, I can become a full-time Bolt driver if push comes to shove, right? And ensure that I have at least that 5,000, which covers insurance, installment, and the car tracker each and every month. So just ensure that you have that in place. You have an emergency fund that will cover you if like rainy days really come, as entire months, an entire year, whatever the case might be. But you do have a backup plan, because obviously you don't want your car to be repossessed. So yes, have a backup plan for that. Now read Khabo's story. So this is Khabo Mabotja. He's been sharing his, I think it's a he, I'm not sure. I'm assuming Khabo is a male name. Sorry if you're female. So yeah, so I'm just gonna read what they post it, because I don't know if it's a he or she, right? So it goes like this: great points covered here. And for the first time buyers, I have a quick story for you. I bought a car in 2020, thought everything is fine, and what did not click to my mind is them refusing with the service book. So that is a red flag, right? You need to have the service history of the vehicle before you purchase it. Only to find out this year that the car was involved in an accident, right? The airbags are not active, and also the mileage was tampered with. Guys, it's a shady. I'm not going to stop like saying that. Like, I'm gonna reiterate every single shadiness that I can find in my vocab to say how dodgy some of the dealings are. My advice to all first-time buyers, just to add on when buying a second-hand car, make sure to ask for the following as soon as possible. As soon as you're interested in a deal, ask for a service book, a DEKRA certificate, and if you want to take things a bit further, the previous owner details, because some dealerships tamper with the mileage, right? Some service book to match their evilness. That's what he's saying. They're saying, I hope someone finds this information valuable, right? So hence I'm sharing it here. And then, by the way, I'm in the process of canceling the contract. Unfortunately, the dealer wants me to pay for usage, which I refused since they sold me a dream. All I'm saying is be careful when buying used cars, right? As I've already mentioned, disadvantages and advantages of buying a pre-owned or new car, right? So yes. Then I think this is the last question from Oratile Kudzwane again. So the question that he's asking is, when doubling your monthly payments, do you only reduce the number of years, or you also reduce the number of amount resulting from the interest rate, right? So I actually wanted us to do like a quick calculation on a vehicle financing platform. So, and let me just go to the Absa vehicle financing platform. I hope this recording is not too long. That's 17 minutes. As per usual, it's a long recording. You all are used to it by now. If you get value from it, you'll watch all of it. If you don't, it's okay as well. So Absa vehicle finance calculator, right? Okay, so let's just say, for example, you're getting a vehicle that's about 200,000, and deposit on vehicle is 0. As we said, that you don't have to pay a deposit. The interest rate is about 6%, as I was able to get 6%, and I'm encouraging people to try and get the 6% as well. The payment term is 60 months. Okay, not 60 months, right? No balloon payment. So you pay about 3,958 rands, right? So if you double your payment, we're assuming it's going to half 8 months. You're paying about 4,500. If you pay 600 rands more, right, you'll have shortened the period by a year. If you pay 2,000 rands more each month, you'd have shortened it by 2 years, from 5 years to 3 years. Oh, sorry, I should have been showing you guys what I'm doing. And if you double the payment, or if you make it in 2 years, if it's 5 years, you're going to be paying almost 9,500, which is almost double what you started with, which is because you started with 4,000 if you're paying it in 5 years. Okay, so I was abruptly cut there. The memory card was full. So yeah, I just wanted to say that just contributing from as low as 600 rands already reduces the period by a year, and obviously with the period being reduced, the interest will also be reduced. So do look into paying just a bit more into any type of credit that you have, right? Because it will definitely reduce the period that you have to pay, and also reduce the interest, right? And sometimes when you want to settle the payment very early, you might be penalized, but the penalty won't be as much as the interest. So I think it's worth it at the end of the day. Hope you've learned a lot, and thank you for tuning in. So thank you very much for joining today's episode. I really hope you have a lovely week and you stay awesome. Till next week, same time, same place. We don't know what the hairstyle is going to be looking like. But anyways, thank you guys, and thank you for your support. If you watch all the way till here, you're a real one. Love you. Got this.